I don't want to do this, but
it's Hassan.
it's Hassan. Yeah. For the viewing crowd, please don't think that I'm some tyrant that dictates how people should be, working and all of that. It's not the case.
No, put it to you this way. I didn't mean to cut you off, but if Bill Belichick comes to you and say, "I need you to run this post route in the Super Bowl," that's the equivalent of it.
You're not going to not trust Bill Belichick.
Exactly.
Right.
This guy knows.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I tried to title the podcast the way that I did. It's because I'm not speaking from an area that I don't know. I'm not giving you information from where I'm guessing. I'm telling you this because I have at least a little bit of knowledge about what I'm talking about. And there should be no reason why you should doubt me in that regard if you do understand that, okay, he's shameless plug qualified in order to address these situations. Modeling. Even today, this afternoon, or excuse me, this morning, when we were having the showcase, and we're showcasing all of the product and have the young ladies actually modeling the product, they're the owner is like, have you done this before? And I was like, I've done all of this. I've had to do hair. I've had to do makeup. I've had to do posing. I understand, the technical collegiate level, understanding of what this is from the academic side.
Right.
Which is what I thought was healthy for us to bring in for you two guys, because you are incredibly instrumental in one side of my life, and he is incredibly instrumental for what this is now. So I don't think we actually had that conversation amongst the three of us, but I'd like to for a couple of minutes at least.
That's cool. That's cool.
Well, let me introduce it. So this is Qualified the Podcast, Season 2. I am your host, Hassan. With me, I have two distinguished gentlemen. I have Roderick Robinson from Ottawa Fashion and Trent Atkins from Grexsys Photography. Is that the right way to say it?
That's correct.
I always was wondering. Like, it was just Grexsys, because there's the XYS. I'm like, it's not French. So I was trying to
A
figure
little
it out.
philosophy behind it, but that is the business.
And we need to talk about it.
Okay.
We need to talk about it. Because what I was saying initially is that the rationale behind a lot of growth and development that I had was because of Ottawa Fashion. And this has been a bit of a surprise for Roderick, but I really wanted to tell you thank you. And there's probably no better platform for me to do it than the one I got, right? But I wanted to give you that because 18-ish, we're trying to figure out like the creative side of the things that we can do. And I'm all fire with no direction until we have something to do. Right, and then I'm just giving everything into it. Right. And I had nothing other than what I was learning in college for me to direct my energies to. Otherwise it was going to go bad. So when you come up with Ottawa, which is a partnership between you and your previous business partner, and putting all that together, I just said, hey man, where can I help? Like that was essentially it. Because what my father has always taught me is that it makes more sense for you to be involved with good people than it is for you to just be involved, right? So I'll introduce that with a thank you.
And I just want to make sure I jump in and just quickly say equally and likewise that our relationship, when it took off, of course we weren't on that creative note at that time, but when we got on that creative frequency and we started putting what we both mutually agreed that would be a good working relationship with blending photography and ideas that I had that I really wasn't so concrete on, and that's where you came in and really helped me to see what that idea could develop into. And how we could document that idea, and it was so fresh and just
and raw.
We lived in that moment, and it was like we'll talk about later. We were very authentic, and we lived our authenticity
for sure
and originality, and when we created. So when we were at the house on the southwest side, I just remember us having that shoot, and just how upstairs, downstairs, models, makeup,
it was a lot.
Creating backdrops,
oh my god,
just the whole vibe, the energy, it was too real to make believe. Like it was like, looking back at it now, it could feel unreal, but in the moment it was just like, wow,
it should be documented. Who was it, you or Trey, that said, oh man, if you documented all your old photo shoots, man, you imagine how much footage you would have? Was that you?
I think it was both of us.
It would be so many volumes. But let me tell you what would be ridiculous about this. that shoot is
we were on it, man.
is dumb. Okay, so like from an academic perspective, there's the gods of photography shaking their head at every step we took. All right, but from the moment and from the purity of it all, it's a lot of I was just saying kids just because of our age. There's a lot of kids trying to get something done.
Right.
Where he has a vision, him and his partner had a vision about where this needed to go, and they had product. And what interested me the most about it is that this is the first time I really saw somebody close to me producing product and caring about how it's made. Shirt blend quality, print quality, and things like that. So
important stuff. Yeah.
Really important stuff instead of concert level, real quick silk screening. Right?
Yeah.
So then when we get to shooting it, I have it in my head, wow, I need to make sure that we're shooting this the right way to capture this stuff the right way. We're running constant lights, and I mean constant lights like from the 70s, because who gave me all the stuff to shoot with? Dad. So I got a Canon A1 and a Nikon something, right? They're both film cameras. He's shooting, I can remember it to this day, but the colors in this one shirt is the one young lady, fair skin, red hair, blue shirt with the orange with the yellow sleeves.
Yeah, and that's our friend Navolia. That's our friend Navolia.
This was
Envy. We called her.
How many years ago was this? This might be 20 years ago.
And that's why I needed your help, because I forget.
The memory that you have is so vivid. But that goes back to what I'm sitting here just in awe of. Two friends that were creatives that got together and just did it.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's beautiful. I think it's just wonderful. And y'all are sitting here today talking about it. 20 years ago.
Hey, Trent,
20 years ago.
I think the most relevant story to tell is just going to take a trip to Shipley's with Hassan. Taking a trip to Shipley's, because back then Hassan was he was into his race car.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that just he
kind of
souped up his whips. He had a couple. I don't want to get him on the spot.
Yeah.
He had a couple, but I know. Taking a run to Shipley's up the street, I felt like my
stressful.
heart rate. It put me on another time zone.
It wasn't just getting donuts.
I wasn't just getting donuts.
It was an experience.
And I said, "Oh man," Hassan, I'm not ready, man. I just need to go back.
I'm loving it, man. But you know what? Y'all built memories as y'all built your careers, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And y'all had each other to be creative with and bounce things off of. That's wonderful, man.
Yeah.
Constant lights. Sheet backdrops, not the pull downs, sheet backdrops. The lights were getting hot. It raises the room up like 10 degrees easily. People are running back. It's pure chaos, pure chaos. Yeah. And from that, what I think is really cool though is that, look, I'm very critical of my stuff, right? Because even when you posted the last photo, it's like I'm cringing. I was like, this is my history, and I own my history. But if you look at my photo blogs now, it's not the same. There's like a light year of improvement, right, in terms of composition, color, saturation, things like that. Technical stuff, right?
Technical.
But the purity of that shot is like something that I will always carry with me, right?
Man.
And the other one we did underneath the bridge,
right?
Because that was like really raw street stuff,
right?
The
downtown scene was just.
Oh my god!
That was such a that was a different element. Because we were talking about a previous shoot was in a enclosed setting, but just downtown Houston,
you got to deal with
raw elements. Couch scene, was it?
No, it's not. It's not. I'll have to show you this picture. It's not even the same day, not even the same year, really. So the stuff, Houston as a scene. That's a really interesting point, though. Yeah. So Houston grew after the Super Bowl. First Super Bowl. We had two of them here, right? So in 2007, we have the Super Bowl, which requires the city to dump, let's say, $1 billion into renovating downtown, building all these nightclubs up, getting rid of the homeless issue that we were having at the time. That left a gap in development in certain sections of downtown, so we kind of took advantage of that.
We really did.
Because like Spaghetti Factory was out there in that section.
Yeah, and it was abandoned. We went to several abandoned areas.
A whole lot of abandoned buildings in the middle of town.
For a photographer, though, that's
heaven.
It was like a gold mine. I think we just...
Because Rob was like, "Hey, we want something street," and I'm like, "I know just the place." And so out we go.
We had multiple We had multiple places downtown, and I mean,
underneath the subway, at the port,
at the port
of Houston.
Yeah, the port was beautiful.
So it was a lot of locations that they don't exist anymore, and that's the reason why I was actually so happy to document this and keep this stuff. I have volumes of photos that I'm keeping because maybe they're not the most academic, but they are representation of what this city was,
Right.
and also what our vision was.
Right.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it leads me to, pushing myself to do better because, as we talked about before, I've never been afraid of competition. So no matter what it was that I was doing, you don't know how good you are until you place yourself against somebody else. You don't know how good you are until you're in competition. So what better to do than to get my photo shoots judged, or to put myself into business with other people just to see where I am in the talent pool.
Right.
It's never bothered me. So even Dad said that you're not really a professional until you get paid for it. Otherwise, you just got a hobby.
Right.
He said, so unless you're getting paid for it, you're not a pro. And how appropriate that we're having this conversation right before Father's Day weekend, because I'm gonna keep reflecting back to him, right? But that is what Houston as a city allowed us to have as far as available space to get these images the way that a person, we'll just call you a client at that point, the way that a client would actually want. So I want something street, I want something with this type of appeal. We had it all here. It's not necessarily not that way now. It's just that they're not in the same spots anymore.
Right.
You can find it. So
And you were just out there guerrilla style, so to speak, shooting. Did you have lights with you, or were you just natural light?
That one was natural light.
Yeah,
that was natural light on the
pretty.
second one.
We started that shoot pretty early. I think.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because we had how many people would you think were there roughly?
Might have been 8. Might have been 8 models.
Yeah.
Might have been 8 models.
Yeah.
Which, that's like herding cats. So that's chaos in itself,
different personalities.
Everybody's
the weather
hot,
element, right? We just talked about that. It's
8 personalities.
It gets ridiculous.
And everybody feels a different way about the temperature. One's hot, one's cold,
Yeah.
And most of them were artists, like recording artists,
Right.
or budding, aspiring, at whatever level they may have been at. We got somebody coming in. Hey, come on in. So that was just fine, right? Because we were using available daylight. We broke day.
Right.
But what I was saying about it though is that beyond the personalities, it was about each one of them actually having their own direction and where they wanted to go. It's beyond personalities. Is this going to help me in the brand that I'm trying to create next?
Right.
So we have, one rap artist, Rush, he's there. He doesn't even go by Rush anymore. I'm calling you Rush, Terrence. I don't care what you say. Your first name was Rush. I'm calling you Rush now. His mama named him Clay. I'm calling him Clay. Right. But we had him there, and he's more of a easygoing guy, right? But he's supportive in everything that everyone's trying to do. That's one thing. The other thing, though, is that you may have one more that's a diva. I'm not saying anybody was, but that's typically how that works.
Right. And Navolia, just to say, Envy, she was like, at that time, she was the one female in the group that we all the fellas, she hung with us, and she was pretty strong, and she drove her lyricism that way.
Yeah.
And I can just say this, we all came together for a purpose. And it was great because under Hassan's leadership, that was one thing I can tell you. Hassan is a leader when he knows when we get the idea, the moment the idea is developed and the moment the idea is laid out and discussed,
he's running with it.
Number one. On the point.
I think I said that to someone today. I was like, when you want to do something, don't say it to Hassan.
No,
because he's going to take off.
And you know what? It's a great thing because he takes accountability.
Yeah.
He always takes accountability. If the sun doesn't land on the right shadow,
that's my fault.
That's my fault. And I always tell him it's okay, man. So it's cool because it's like if a shadow looks a certain way or if a shot doesn't come out the way he envisioned it, it's like it becomes an issue all of a sudden, and it's like, yo, we got a lot of work. We did a lot today.
Yeah,
it's okay.
He knocked the bug off the wall today.
It was in the shot.
It was a little.
And it was going to compromise the shot because it was too close to her arm, and I was like, and I think we both know she's going to freak out. So I was like, probably should get this bug out the way. Now I'm doing this for us. Like it's not just for me. But hey, look, man, I appreciate
number one
that.
On the league.
I appreciate that.
I love that because
my issue is that the two things. It's not an issue. Is my tutelage was a couple of different things. One, family, okay, and that's fine. But for the structure of what's expected of you, the educational side of this, single point of failure is something that I've embraced for a very long time. there was nobody to go get when I was little. I had to go get me. Like there was nobody else around for me to pass on responsibility to.
Right.
So that's one thing. But then the other side of it is that if I'm alone on a shoot, I'm just lone cameraman, 2 guns blazing. If it's messed up and I'm on film, it's not in digital. Right. So if I mess up, everything's compromised. There's no redos, there's no takebacks, and nobody's coming to save you.
Yep.
So I can't ask for help because you didn't hire me to have assistance. You hired me.
Yep.
So I have to have a responsibility, and for that, it pushed me academically for me to learn how to execute better and more efficient. And that's what you get with me. I joke about it with my coworkers. I said, I'm a missile. Like, I'm good. Missiles look great in a silo, but they do no damage until they're directed at something. So if you want me to do something, point me in this direction.
That's our guy right there. And that's been, I always loved that and admired that when working together. Yeah. Just because it's a quality that not many people have.
Man, I appreciate it.
And it's a great quality.
I would say that too. As much as you are focused and driven and everything, you're still laid back while you're doing it, and you listen to other people, and you're like, okay, let's go, which is really rare when you're dealing with someone that wants to get it right.
Sure.
So
I'm not. I think in some rules of business, this is funny. I didn't really expect the podcast to go this way, but in the rules of business, not necessarily like I talked about that with Al before. Shout out to Al Sturhunt. I talked about that with him before. That's not what I'm meaning by this. In the rules of my business, in terms of how to engage with business, there is accountability. You need to have that. You need to keep your integrity. These are important, but you cannot be above opinion. I don't know everything. All I know is that I'm here to do a task, right? And ultimately, I see what that is, right? Trent texts me, we got laundry lists of texts about what my expectations were about a shoot that quite honestly would only take 2 hours. I could have very easily just said, hey, go nuts. But I didn't say that, one, because that just ain't my style, but two, it's not just him that's coming. We got Trent, we got Doc, we got the models, we have the models liaisons, we have the expectations of what happens after that. We have that is important because somebody's going to look at me and say, okay, well, what's next? And if I do this, then it's a bogus shoot to me.
Right. The models are shaking their head because that is one thing that they really like about you is that
Agreed.
They know what's next. Because you're saying this is what's going on. This is what's happening. And it does make the shoot go a lot smoother.
Yeah. I'd much rather fill up a time slot and have stuff left that wasn't done than for us to have time lingering. Because even when now this is a client shoot. This isn't just us coming through with an idea. This is, shout out to Nina's Chicks. Okay. So that's what we did today, right? Yeah. It's product, it's beads, it's waist beads, really nice ones, actually. It was really good. So, but with that though, that's a client that has expectations as well. And sure, she's in the shoot, but we can't distract her from us wasting time. No, you go do that. I will take care of this. You're entrusting me as a coordinator and a director to make sure that these are handled the right way. And every role that I assume, I take it cardiac arrest seriously, because in the end, it won't be them doing a bad job. It would be, why did you hire them? Right. It won't be, the photographers didn't do a good job. It's like, why would you bring these photographers who can't shoot here?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all of that. That's my fault. That's got nothing to do with them in the end. It always comes back to me. Right. So, single point of failure. Rule number 1: if this ain't the game for you, then you probably want to tune out right now. Okay. Yeah. But I appreciate it, gentlemen. What we try to do at best is try to make sure that in the level of business that we try to accomplish, what you have here. Okay, I'm media. You are fashion. You are photography. That's the role that I'm assuming now. We can chop it up and talk about, the aspects of all of that, right? And that's what I kind of wanted to do today. Give me a small history of Ottawa.
Yeah, right? No doubt. I really believe the brand spoke for all of us because it gave us a identity to be able to associate ourselves with, especially being that we were creatively inclined and we weren't afraid of creating. A lot of people are, and with Ottawa, all those that aspire will achieve. It gave us an outlet to be able to create in the direction of fashion. And at that time that we were creating, it was also music. Music was such a dynamic part of it.
Yeah.
Like music, fashion, just the whole vibe, the element of what comes with being raw. We were just original. We believed in that. And I think during that time we we followed a lot of influencers, but mainly the people that influenced us were people that were big in the industry. There were FUBUs at that time.
Yeah.
Echo was doing this thing. We were following the blueprint of what Russell Simmons had laid out when he introduced Fat Form.
Sure.
And you had Baby Fat and a lot of other brands started. And so the idea of Ottawa was our brand, and we infused our brand with every element that we enjoyed. And I say we because it was a group, and and to this day, I still infuse it with what I enjoy. And when you create something, you realize things do change according to the time. So as you develop and you grow, things that your tastes and your creative nature changes into what that looks like for that time.
Yeah.
And so with Ottawa, it's a brand that's allowed me to continue to believe in the idea of creating and believe in the idea that there's still a connection with my personal brand and the way that I help to grow the clothing.
Yeah.
And so I've continued to work with new influencers, new people that inspire me. I continue to build new relationships with people that help add their own layer to what Ottawa means to them as well.
What you should know about him, like I probably haven't seen anything like this in this format, right? And I don't know if anyone's ever described it to you this way, but his fashion line is inspirational. I mean, clearly it's inspirational in title, but he is more philanthropic in nature than he probably gives himself credit for, because he's always on a scene somewhere, and it's always a part of where we call it a micro community. I mean, it really is amongst an associated group of people, but beyond that, his connections that he makes, those people do very inspirational things. They have good messages, they have good intent, and his level of support for those people is astronomical. Like from a business model, I would just know that you're operating almost like a nonprofit organization off the fashion line. And I'm praying that this works in the bookkeeping nature of this the same way. Like, if this is an MPO, then you should balance your books out very well. Let's just say it is. Let's just say it is, even though you're probably in the red. Like, but the idea of it though, like in terms of it being as positive as possible, I told this to him. I said, you're probably one of the most positive people that I know. I don't know that many more people that can be this happy all the time.
That's what the lady said when he walked in. She said, he's so happy.
Oh,
He's so happy.
You know what, you guys?
He's glowing.
Y'all are doing too much now. Look at this.
That's what she
See,
said.
now Hassan is
She said
showing,
that.
he's flexing his styles right now because this is a part of his PR.
No, it's frustrating. Is what I'm saying.
He's a good PR representative.
No,
I
but
need
if
a publicist, like,
Yeah.
maybe I need to talk to Hassan about being a publicist to help the brand. You know what I'm saying?
if there's a check involved in that, maybe. You know, but again, man, it's just I observe it because, and again, the nature of the podcast is, and this is where I get to thank you. The nature of the podcast wasn't about me. I'm happy to help. I very much am. But how this started, just to be fair, is that I'm talking to Trent and Big Trey, and we're just talking. And he's asking me things about, photography from the academic side that, okay, he didn't go the academic route. But what he has become is incredibly good with that camera.
Yeah.
But digital. So I'm from the tutelage of film. So what I learned, and this is what I was explaining earlier today, I said if I'm shooting more than 250 frames, I'm wasting money. Because film costs, well, at the time, we'll just go marketably $6 a roll, right? But 36 exposures, maybe 24 exposures, right? So if I'm doing 24 exposures and my cap is 250, I have 10 rolls of film. I must make excellence within 10 rolls. Ruin this further, every shot requires bracketing. So even when I'm shooting your stuff,
Right.
I'm shooting one f-stop or two f-stops different just for the adjustment of the light. I'm doing calculus in my head, more like trig, because I'm dealing with natural light off of the camera that I must operate manually. And there is no screen to look at, none. This is torture.
It is.
This is like, what would life be without your smartphone? Take your smartphone away for a day, see if you don't psychologically crack. Like that's how that was, learning it on film.
Yeah.
So it made a few things as second nature. It required you to. because you'd only see the end product in the dark room, and you would either scream from the dark room because you messed something up, or you yell like, yeah, all right, I got it. You know?
When you get that call from Hassan, back in the day, you get that call from Hassan after you do a photo shoot, because everybody who's on the other end of the stick, you're the guy who's waiting.
Yeah.
You're playing the waiting game.
Yeah,
Once the photographer took everything and they leave the set, it's like, okay, how long is it gonna take you to? How long do you think? And then he's like, he's excited, and we want that excitement in the photographer because we want that turnaround.
Yeah.
And when you get that call and he says everything looks good, hey, you're gonna be happy. Hey, but it's just the
I'm like
idea.
an alto, you're a baritone. I'm alto.
The idea that you get that call and everything is good.
Sound like Barry White.
That sounded like homeboy from Boys to Men.
Yeah, right.
Hey baby,
Everything looks
man,
good.
this is how I sound.
Hey, no, but I'm just saying, you get the call from H Boogie and he giving you the green light that the images are solid. Now you feel more confident to be like, when we gonna link up, because back then you gotta connect, you know, it's like we gotta meet, how soon can we connect, and that's when you make the magic, you know what I'm saying? So
for us to have the items that we do now, the process would be shoot on film, develop all, dry all film, scan film onto a zip disk, go into Photoshop 1 because I'm that old. Shut up. And then do your editing, which did not have feathering because it wasn't a part of the feather. It was not there. You had to make feathering. They realized people were doing that process so much that they decided to do the feather auto process. But I was in school when there was a thing called an iMac. So you remember the clear see-through. You may have been 1 year old when that came out, but nonetheless, we thought that was going to change the world. Let's see, number one, you can see through this computer. You remember going to University Center, going downstairs, and they had the computer room, and you're like, why does this thing cost $2,000? This costs $1,000 now. Like, why does this cost $2,000? And it is nowhere near as fast as that.
That's why I'm curious to hear, Trent, like, how were you a part of that transition, or did you go straight?
No, actually, I started shooting, oddly enough, around 17 or 18 with film. You know, but I would have never ever tried to be a professional with film, because what you just described, it was that hard. I mean, I could take a roll of film, and Doc's in the room too. Yeah, I could. When I first started shooting, I would have 24 exposures. I'd probably get one right, and I would be excited because I got one right. You know, I could have never thought about shooting professionally like you did with film, and then developing everything, and then wondering, do you have those shots? So I did start there, and then I just kind of considered it a hobby until digital really kicked in, and then I was like, you know what, I'm getting pretty good with this. I'm getting 2 shots out of 24 now, you know, and that's where I really started getting serious into it. So
I apologize, I misspoke. But when we introduced ourselves, or when Trey introduced us to each other, I understood that you were going hard digital.
I was at that time. Yeah, but
I think that's probably the reason why I was talking the way I was talking in the first place, is because, okay, well, maybe those concepts weren't something that you had saw at the time.
Well, see, here's the thing. You have the background of, it was your education. Photography was your education. You know, for me, it was a lot of learning on my own, and you don't know the terms, you don't know some of these things. When you said it, I was able to connect the dots. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing, but that's the technical term. And then I have to look it up and understand it a little better. But for the most part, I was self-taught, you know.
Yeah. I think that he's done an amazing job. Well, you've seen the work. Like, he's done an amazing job for that. And it's not to say that you're an anomaly in that equation, but you are damn good in turn. And that's the reason why I have to keep referring him. It's like, look, you want something gritty and, you know, skater-esque? Yeah, I'm your guy. I mean, it's fine. You know, I have that edge, but this is too clean. It's just too clean of a product, you know?
That's appreciate that, first of all. And a lot of that comes from Doc. It's great that you had Doc in the room today as well, because a lot of that, I have to say, comes from you and Doc. You're telling me what I need to do, and Doc is like, let's go do it. Yeah. And we just work on it and work on it. And Doc is one of the reasons I got a lot better. I mean, listening to you, working with Doc. So,
amen. That's cool. Hey, we appreciate all of us, right? I appreciate you, and I thank you for coming. This is the second shoot that I've done with you, right? It's been really good as far as looking and observing in terms of how it works. But look at it from a business perspective, right? The way Doc presents product to you isn't the same as the way Trent does. So even if, and again, I'm the referral process, right? So if they send me over all the work and we get to going through the selection process, I always tell you, we did 2 hours, I expect 100. I expect to see 100 frames. You're going to send me 200. That's cool. We get to look through these and try to figure out. It gets to a point that I don't know who shot what because they are that clean in execution in that same way. I don't know whose is whose. I know I like them. but so all of these in this basket is what I'm going to try to keep.
Yeah.
And then this is what we present to the client.
Definitely.
That's the joys of being in a media company as opposed to the photographer, which is the judge, jury, and executioner. You go deal with a model, you're going to give her 10 frames, really. Most models going to need 10. Because if you start looking behind the back of the cameraman at everything that they shoot, models will expect to see 400 frames. You don't need 400. You need like 20 at best. If you shot 400, you get 20, and we'll just select the cream of the crop from there.
Right.
Because that's essentially all of their portfolio.
Yeah, and that's important. The execution of what that project was supposed to deliver.
Right.
Right.
You don't need to see everything.
Right.
17 of these are going to be you blinking. And now I got to have a conversation with you about, well, it looks better with my eyes closed, doesn't it?
Let the models talk. Let them speak on that.
I'm glad they're here because Doc and I have talked about this 100 times. These 3 models over here have helped us improve and get to the level that we are because they are just wonderful to work with and they're amazing. And it's always funny to me after a shoot. I go, well, how did you do? And I'm sitting there like, man, they nailed about 50 shots. And like you said, we're looking for 10 to 20.
You just need 10 to 20.
And they nailed like 50.
But let's bring them in. Let's bring them in so we can give you your flowers as well and don't be nervous.